The camera flashes hit Elian's face like knives. He stepped out of the black town car and the world tilted. White light, shouted questions, microphones thrust forward like weapons. The shirt clung to his skin too tight across the shoulders, too loose at the waist, fabric that didn't belong to him and never would. He didn't want to be here. His hands moved instinctively, signing frantically to the woman who'd shoved him into this nightmare. "Please, I can't do this, let me go." But Serena's sister, tall, sharp-eyed, dripping in diamonds, only smiled. She leaned close, her perfume choking. "Walk," she whispered, "or I make one phone call and Noah disappears." Elian's breath stopped. Noah, 3 years old, asleep in the courier bag in the back seat, safe, hidden, still breathing. He walked. The charity gala sprawled before him, marble steps, golden railings, men in tailored suits and women in gowns that cost more than Elian had earned in his entire life. He didn't belong here. Everyone knew it. Whispers rippled through the crowd like poison in water. "Who is that? Why is he wearing that? Isn't that Serena?" Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Elian's chest tightened. He wanted to run, wanted to grab Noah and disappear into the city where no one would find them. But his legs kept moving forward, one step after another, because fear had a way of making the body obey even when the mind screamed stop asterisk. Then he saw him. Dominic Ravello stood at the top of the steps, perfectly still. Dark suit, dark eyes, expression carved from stone, the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to make grown men tremble. The kind of man who controlled shipping ports, political favors, and secrets that could destroy entire families. And Elian was wearing his dead mate's shirt. No, not dead, vanished, betrayed. The woman who'd stolen classified ledgers and left Dominic's empire bleeding. Dominic's gaze locked onto Elian, and the air turned to ice. No rage, no shouting, just cold, surgical assessment, the way a predator studied prey before deciding how to kill it. Elian's hands shook. He tried to sign again, "I didn't know, I'm sorry, please," but Dominic wasn't looking at his hands. He was looking at the shirt, the white fabric, the tailored cut, the exact piece Serena had worn the night she disappeared. The gala continued around them. Music, laughter, champagne glasses clinking. But between Elian and Dominic, the world had narrowed to a single, suffocating moment. Dominic descended the steps slowly, deliberately, each footfall echoed like a countdown. When he reached Elian, he didn't speak, didn't touch, just looked at him with eyes that held no mercy, no curiosity, no room for explanation. Then he turned to one of his men, a tall enforcer with a scar across his jaw. "Bring him to the estate." "Sir, the event." "Now." The word fell like a guillotine blade. Elian tried to pull away, but the enforcer's grip closed around his arm, firm, unyielding, the kind of grip that didn't bruise but made it clear resistance was useless. He was led back to the car, pushed inside. The door slammed shut, and through the tinted window he saw Dominic speaking to someone, a phone pressed to his ear, expression unreadable. The car pulled away from the gala, away from the lights and cameras and whispered accusations. The city blurred past, and Elian pressed his hands against the window, signing desperately to no one. "I didn't do anything. Please." "No way." The enforcer in the front seat said nothing. 20 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a mansion that looked like it had been carved from old money and cold blood. Gold-etched doors, security cameras, guards stationed at every corner. The door opened and Elian was pulled out. Dominic was already there, waiting in the foyer. Marble floors stretched in every direction. Chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. Everything gleamed with wealth that felt more like a threat than luxury. Elian's pulse hammered in his throat. Dominic stepped forward close enough that Elian could smell his cologne, expensive, sharp, unforgiving. And then Dominic spoke, his voice low and final. "That dress isn't leaving this house." He paused, eyes drilling into Elian's. "And neither are you." The gold doors swung shut behind them. The sound echoed through the mansion like a prison gate locking. "What would you do if your silence was mistaken for guilt, and the most dangerous man in the city just made you his prisoner?" Elian's hands flew up the moment the doors closed. He signed fast, desperate, fingers trembling so hard the gestures barely held their shape. "I didn't steal this, I didn't know, please listen." Dominic stood 5 feet away, arms crossed, watching. Not reading, just watching. Elian's breath came in shallow gasps. He tried again, slower this time, making sure each sign was clear. "I'm a courier. Someone gave me this shirt. I was told to wear it. I didn't know it was hers." Dominic's expression didn't change. One of the guards shifted uncomfortably near the door. "Sir, he's..." "Quiet." The guard went silent. Elian's chest tightened. Panic clawed at his ribs. He'd spent his whole life learning how to communicate without a voice, how to make people see him, hear him, understand him. But right now, standing in this marble tomb of a mansion, he might as well have been invisible. Dominic tilted his head slightly. "Are you finished?" Elian froze. Dominic's voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that came before violence. "I don't know sign language," Dominic said flatly. "And even if I did, silence in my world has always meant one thing." He stepped closer. "Guilt." Elian stumbled back, but there was nowhere to go. The walls pressed in. The guards blocked the exits. The shirt, the cursed, blood-stained by association shirt, clung to him like evidence he couldn't remove. Dominic turned to the enforcer who'd brought Elian in. "Take his phone, remove his name from the courier logs. No one knows he's here." "Yes, sir." Elian's vision blurred. He shook his head violently, signing again, "No, please, you don't understand." But the enforcer moved fast. Hands patted down Elian's pockets. His phone was pulled out, powered off, dropped into a bag that disappeared into the enforcer's coat. "Second floor," Dominic continued, his tone businesslike now, detached. "East wing, lock the door, post someone outside." "Understood." Elian tried to run. He twisted, lunged toward the door, but the enforcer caught him by the arm and yanked him back. Elian's feet slipped on the polished marble. He hit the floor hard, palms slapping against cold stone. For a moment he just lay there, gasping, heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. Then he looked up. Dominic stood over him, expression unreadable. "If you didn't do anything wrong," Dominic said quietly, "then you have nothing to worry about." He turned and walked away, footsteps echoing down the long hallway until they faded completely. Elian was hauled to his feet, dragged up a curved staircase, down a hallway lined with paintings of people who looked like they'd been dead for centuries, through a door that opened into a bedroom, luxurious, suffocating, with windows that didn't open and a lock that clicked from the outside. The enforcer stepped back into the hall. "Don't touch anything." The door closed. The lock turned. Elian sank onto the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. They were still shaking. He'd been in bad situations before, dangerous clients, late-night deliveries in parts of the city where cops didn't go, but this was different. This wasn't danger. This was erasure. No phone, no name in the logs, no one outside this mansion even knew he was here. And then, like a knife twisting in his chest, the worst thought of all hit him. Noah. Noah was still in the car, still in the courier bag, still hidden in the back seat. Elian's breath hitched. He pressed his hands over his mouth, choking back a sob that had no sound. If they found Noah, they'd take him, use him, hurt him. If they didn't find Noah, he'd wake up alone, scared, crying for Elian in a language no one else would understand. Elian stood packing the room, hands pulling at his hair. He had to get out, had to get back to the car, had to. The door didn't budge. He slammed his fist against it once, twice, the wood didn't even shake. No one came. Elian slid down the door, knees pulled to his chest, and closed his eyes. He wasn't being questioned. He was being contained. Would you fight back, or would you wait for the moment they realized they'd locked up the wrong person? The enforcer found the bag by accident. He'd gone back to the car to retrieve Dominic's briefcase, routine sweep, nothing unusual, when he noticed something wedged behind the passenger seat. A courier bag, old worn. Zipper half open. He pulled it out, frowning. Then he heard breathing. Soft, steady, the kind of breathing that didn't belong to luggage. He unzipped the bag fully. Inside, curled up like a secret, was a child. 3 years old, maybe younger, dark hair falling across a round face, Tiny fists clutched a stuffed rabbit with one ear missing. The enforcer froze. "Boss," he said into his radio, voice tight, "we have a situation." Dominic was in his office when the call came through. He'd been reviewing shipping manifests, tracking the financial trail Serena had left behind, hunting for the next move in a game she thought she'd already won. Then his enforcer's voice crackled through the radio. "Sir, there's a child in the car." Dominic's pen stopped mid-signature. "Repeat that." "A child, 3 years old, found in a courier bag in the back seat." "Silence." Dominic set the pen down slowly, carefully, like it might explode if he moved too fast. "Bring him inside quietly." "Yes, sir." 10 minutes later, the child was carried into the mansion, still asleep, still clutching the rabbit. Dominic's consigliere, a sharp-eyed man named Terrence, stood beside him, arms crossed, expression grim. "This complicates things," Terrence said. Dominic didn't respond, he was staring at the child. Small, defenseless, completely unaware that he'd just been dropped into the middle of a war zone. "Unregistered?" Dominic asked. "No record of him in any database," Terrence confirmed. "No birth certificate, no hospital records, nothing." Dominic's jaw tightened. In their world, an unregistered child was a liability, a ghost, the kind of thing rival families used as leverage, as bait, as collateral damage. Terrence leaned closer, voice low. "We should send them away, both of them, before this gets messy." Dominic didn't answer. The child stirred in the enforcer's arms, face scrunching up, small whimper escaping his throat. "Put him in the south wing," Dominic said finally. "Medical eval, clean clothes, food." Terrence blinked. "Sir." "Now." Terrence's mouth pressed into a thin line, but he nodded. "Understood." The enforcer carried the child down the hall and Dominic stood alone in the foyer, staring at the spot where the boy had been. He didn't know why he'd given that order. Didn't know why his first instinct had been protection instead of disposal. But when the child had stirred, when that small, fragile sound had escaped, Dominic had felt something he hadn't felt in years. Guilt. Upstairs, Elian woke to silence. Not the kind of silence that came from peace, the kind that came from absence. He sat up fast, heart hammering, hands flying to his sides, his pockets searching. The courier bag. Gone. He'd left it in the car, hidden safe. "No way." Elian bolted to the door, slamming his fists against the wood, signing frantically even though no one could see him. "Where is he? What did you do? Please, he's just a baby." No one answered. He pounded harder, shoulder ramming into the door, desperation overriding pain. The lock clicked. The door opened. A guard stood there, different from before, younger, less scarred. Elian didn't wait. He lunged past him, running down the hallway, bare feet sliding on marble, breath ragged. "Hey, stop." He didn't stop. He ran until he hit the staircase, stumbled down it, legs shaking, vision blurring. And then he saw it. The courier bag, empty, tossed on a side table near the entrance. Elian's knees buckled. He collapsed onto the floor, hands clawing at the marble, silent sobs tearing through his chest. "They took him, they took Noah, he's gone, I lost him." "Elian." The voice was calm, quiet. Elian looked up. Dominic stood at the top of the stairs, hands in his pockets, watching. And for the first time, there was something in his expression that wasn't cold. It was unreadable. But it wasn't indifference. Dominic descended the stairs slowly, stopping a few feet away. "Who does this child belong to? If your greatest fear just came true, would you beg the man who caused it, or would you break?" Elian couldn't breathe. He knelt on the cold marble floor, hands pressed flat against the stone, chest heaving with sobs that had no sound. His whole body shook, every muscle screamed, his vision blurred until the mansion around him became nothing but gold and white smears. Noah was gone. They'd taken him. And Elian had failed. Guards stood nearby, shifting uncomfortably, unsure what to do with an Omega breaking apart in front of them. One of them reached out, awkward, hesitant, but stopped when Dominic raised a hand. "Leave him." The guard stepped back. Elian's hands moved desperately, signing into the empty air. "Please, he's mine, he's just a baby, please don't hurt him, I'll do anything, please." No one understood. He tried again, slower, tears streaming down his face, hands trembling so badly the signs barely held shape. Still nothing. Elian's forehead dropped to the floor, his nails scraped against marble. Silent cries tore through him, each one worse than the last because they had nowhere to go, no voice, no release, just pain folding inward, crushing him from the inside out. He'd spent 3 years protecting Noah, 3 years running, hiding, taking every dangerous courier job just to keep them fed, keep them moving, keep them invisible. And now in one night it was over. Dominic crouched down, slow and deliberate, until he was at eye level with Elian. "Look at me." Elian didn't move. "Look at me." Something in the tone, command, not cruelty, made Elian lift his head. His face was a wreck, eyes red and swollen, cheeks wet, lips trembling. Dominic studied him for a long moment. Then he said very quietly, "The child is safe." Elian blinked. His hand stilled. "He's in the south wing," Dominic continued, voice steady. "Medical cleared him, no injuries, no fever, he's been fed, cleaned, sleeping in a room with toys and a guard outside the door." Elian stared at him, not understanding. Dominic's jaw tightened, he was never in danger. The words didn't land at first. Elian's brain couldn't process them, they didn't fit, nothing about this situation fit. Dominic stood, stepping back. "I ordered him moved for his protection, not punishment." Elian's chest hitched, his hands lifted shakily. "Then why didn't you tell me?" But Dominic was already turning away. "You'll see him in the morning, after you've calmed down." Elian tried to stand, legs wobbling, reaching out. "Don't." Dominic's voice stopped him cold. "You need rest, so does he, don't make this harder than it has to be." He walked away, footsteps echoing through the foyer. Elian stood there swaying, hands still outstretched, tears still falling. One of the younger guards stepped forward, hesitant. "Come on, let's get you back upstairs." Elian didn't resist this time. He let himself be led back to the locked room, let the door close behind him, let the silence swallow him whole. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. Noah was safe. That should have been enough. But it was. Because Elian had just learned something worse than cruelty. He'd learned that Dominic Ravello could be merciful. And mercy in a man like that was the most dangerous thing of all. Meanwhile, 2 floors below, Dominic stood outside the south wing, arms crossed, staring through the observation window. Inside, the child Noah slept peacefully in a bed 3 times too big for him. The stuffed rabbit lay tucked under his arm, his breathing was steady, calm. Terrence appeared beside Dominic, hands folded behind his back. "You didn't have to do this," Terrence said quietly. Dominic didn't respond. "We still don't know who he is, could be a plant, could be bait. He's 3 years old. That doesn't mean." He smiled at me. Terrence paused. Dominic's voice was low, almost too quiet to hear. "When they brought him in before he fell asleep, he looked at me and smiled." Terrence said nothing. Dominic turned away from the window, expression hardening again. "Run a full background check on Elian Rowe. I want to know everything, where he's from, who he works for, why Serena's sister put him in that shirt. And the child." Dominic's jaw tightened. "He stays." Upstairs, Elian lay on his side, staring at the locked door. His body was exhausted, his mind was a hurricane. Noah was alive, safe, sleeping somewhere in this massive, suffocating house. But Elian still couldn't see him, couldn't hold him, couldn't tell him everything would be okay. Because Elian didn't know if it would be. He closed his eyes, hands curling into fists. And for the first time in 3 years, Elian prayed to a god he wasn't sure was listening. "Just let me see him one more time, please, just once." The room stayed silent. The lock stayed locked. Would you trust the man who showed you mercy, or would you fear what he'd ask for in return? Elian woke to sunlight cutting through heavy curtains. For a moment he forgot where he was, forgot about the gala, the shirt, the mansion, the locked door. Then he turned his head and saw the guard standing inside the room. Memory crashed back. Elian sat up fast, heart pounding. The guard, same young one from last night, held up both hands. "Easy, I'm not here to hurt you." Elian's hands moved instinctively. "Where is Noah?" The guard frowned. "I don't My son the child, where is he? The guard glanced at the door, uncomfortable. Mr. Ravello wants to see you downstairs now. Elian's pulse spiked, he didn't move. The guard sighed, look, I don't know what's going on, but if you want to see the kid, you need to come with me. That got Elian moving. He stood, still wearing the cursed white shirt, wrinkled now and stained with tears. He didn't care. He followed the guard out of the room, down the stairs, through hallways that felt like they went on forever. They stopped outside a set of double doors. The guard knocked once. Come in. The doors opened. Inside was an office huge, lined with bookshelves, a massive desk at the center. Dominic sat behind it, fingers steepled, expression unreadable. And beside him, sitting on the floor surrounded by toy trucks, was Noah. Elian's breath caught. Noah looked up, eyes brightening instantly. Eli. He scrambled to his feet and ran. Elian dropped to his knees, catching Noah in his arms, holding him so tight he was afraid he might break him. His hands shook, his throat burned, silent sobs shook his shoulders. Noah pulled back, small hands patting Elian's wet cheeks. Why sad? Elian shook his head, signing slowly, not sad, happy, so happy. Noah didn't understand the signs, but he smiled anyway. I got's toys. He ran back to the trucks, crashing two of them together with sound effects. Elian stayed kneeling, staring at him, memorizing every detail. The way Noah's hair stuck up in the back, the gap in his front teeth, the dinosaur pajamas someone had dressed him in, soft, new, expensive. Dominic's voice cut through the moment. He's been fed, checked by a doctor, no signs of malnutrition or abuse. Elian looked up. Dominic was watching him carefully. I had my people run a basic background check, Dominic continued. You're a courier, low-level, no criminal record, no ties to Serena beyond the job her sister forced you into. Elian's hands lifted slowly. Then you know I didn't do anything wrong. Dominic's gaze flicked to Elian's hands, then back to his face. I don't know what you just said. Elian's jaw tightened. Dominic leaned back in his chair, but I'm starting to think you're not the threat I thought you were. A pause. Doesn't mean you're free to go. Elian's chest tightened. Dominic stood, walking around the desk until he was standing directly in front of Elian, close enough that Elian had to tilt his head back to meet his eyes. Someone put you in that shirt for a reason, Dominic said quietly. Someone wanted me to see you, to react, to make a mistake. He crouched down, same as last night. I need to know who, and I need to know why. Elian's hands moved. I already told you. I can't understand you. Frustration flared hot in Elian's chest. He grabbed a pen from the desk, pulled a piece of paper toward him and wrote in fast, shaky handwriting. Serena's sister, she forced me, said she'd hurt Noah if I didn't wear the shirt and go to the gala. I didn't know why, I swear. Dominic read it slowly. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. He stood, folding the paper, slipping it into his pocket. You're staying here until I confirm that, Dominic said, but you're not a prisoner anymore. He glanced at Noah, still playing with the trucks. You're under my protection now, both of you. Elian stared at him, not sure whether to feel relieved or terrified. Why? Elian wrote on another piece of paper. Dominic looked at him for a long moment. Then he walked to the door, pausing in the doorway. Because that child smiled at me, Dominic said quietly, and I haven't seen innocence in a long time. He left. The door stayed open this time. Elian sat on the floor, watching Noah play, hands trembling. Protection. It sounded like safety. But Elian had learned the hard way. Safety always came with a price. Would you stay in the house of a dangerous man who promised to protect you, or would you run the moment his back was turned? The ledger hit Dominic's desk with a slap that echoed through the office. Terrence stood across from him, arms crossed, jaw tight, found it buried in Serena's old courier routes, coded, encrypted, but once we cracked it. Show me. Terrence flipped it open, pointing to a column of dates and names. She's been moving money for months, small amounts, untraceable until now. Dominic scanned the pages, his expression cold and calculating. Then he saw it. Elian's name, listed 17 times, each entry marked with the same annotation, unwitting mule. Dominic's fingers tightened on the edge of the desk. He didn't know, Terrence said quietly. She used him to transport encoded documents, threatened him, told him if he stopped she'd expose the kid to rival families. Dominic's jaw clenched. The gala wasn't random, Terrence continued. It was a setup. Serena's sister dressed him in that shirt, sent him to you, knowing you'd react. If you killed him, she'd leak it as proof you abuse Omegas. If you didn't, she'd sell pieces of your empire while you were distracted. Dominic closed the ledger slowly. For a moment he said nothing. Then, where is Serena now? Terrence pulled out his phone, swiping through a series of surveillance photos. Last spotted in Newark, staying at a safe house owned by the Castellano family. She thinks she's untouchable. Dominic's eyes darkened. She's wrong. Upstairs, Elian sat on the floor of the unlocked bedroom, Noah curled in his lap, finally asleep after an hour of playing. The door was open now, no guards blocking it, no lock turning from the outside. But Elian still felt trapped. Because protection wasn't freedom. It was just a prettier cage. He stroked Noah's hair absently, mind racing. What happened now? They couldn't stay here forever. Dominic had said they were safe, but safe in a mafia mansion was like being safe in the eye of a hurricane. The storm was still there, just waiting. Footsteps approached. Elian looked up. Dominic stood in the doorway, still dressed in the dark suit from earlier, tie loosened slightly. He looked tired, not physically, men like him didn't show exhaustion the way normal people did, but there was something in his eyes, a weight. He stepped inside, glancing at Noah. He's out cold. Elian nodded. Dominic crouched down, same careful movement as before until he was at eye level. He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket and set it on the floor between them. Elian picked it up, unfolding it. It was a printout, a page from the ledger, his name highlighted. His breath caught. Dominic's voice was quiet. You were never her partner, you were her victim. Elian stared at the paper, hands trembling. She used you, Dominic continued. Forced you to move documents you didn't understand, threatened your son to keep you compliant, and when you tried to stop, she set you up to take the fall. Elian's throat tightened. Dominic leaned forward slightly. I need you to understand something. What happened at the gala, what I did to you, that was my mistake, not yours. Elian's eyes snapped up. Dominic's expression was unreadable, but there was something behind it. Regret, maybe, or the closest thing a man like him could feel to it. I jumped to conclusions, Dominic said. I saw the shirt and assumed the worst. I didn't give you a chance to explain, and for that, he paused, I'm sorry. Elian blinked. An apology from Dominic Ravello felt like watching the sun rise at midnight. Impossible, unnatural, dangerous. Dominic stood, brushing off his knees. Serena made this war, but I'm going to finish it. He turned toward the door. Elian grabbed a pen from the bedside table, scribbling fast on the back of the printout. What are you going to do to her? Dominic glanced back, reading it. His eyes went cold. What she should have expected the moment she betrayed me. He walked out. Elian sat there, Noah still asleep in his arms, staring at the empty doorway. This wasn't just about the shirt anymore. This wasn't even about him. This was a declaration of war. And Elian had just become the reason for it. When the most dangerous man in the city goes to war for you, are you saved, or just another casualty waiting to happen? The first account froze at 3:47 a.m. Serena was asleep in the Newark safe house when her phone buzzed. She ignored it, buzzed again and again. By the fourth buzz, she grabbed it, squinting at the screen. Account alert, offshore account 4739 frozen. She sat up fast. Another notification. Account alert, offshore account 4822 frozen. Then another. And another. Within 10 minutes, every account she'd spent months building, every stolen dollar, every backdoor payment, every carefully laundered transaction, was locked down. Serena's hands shook as she dialed her contact at the bank. It rang once. Twice. Then a voice she didn't recognize answered. Miss Ravello, or should I say former Miss Ravello. Her blood turned to ice. Who is this? Someone who works for the man you shouldn't have crossed. The line went dead. By sunrise, Serena's allies were in custody. Federal agents swept through 3 separate locations, 2 in New Jersey, 1 in Manhattan. Arrests were quiet, efficient, no media, no leaks, just men in suits walking people out in handcuffs while neighbors watched through curtains. Serena's phone rang again. This time it was Vincent Castellano, the man whose safe house she was hiding in. "You need to leave," he said, voice tight. "What, why?" "Because I just got a call from Dominic Ravello's lawyer. If you're still in my house in the next hour, they're coming for me too. You can't just get out." He hung up. Serena stood in the middle of the bedroom, heart pounding, mind racing. This wasn't possible. Dominic couldn't move this fast, couldn't reach this far, not without. Her phone buzzed again. A text, unknown number. "You took something that didn't belong to you, now I'm taking everything." No signature. Didn't need one. Back at the mansion, Dominic stood in his office, phone pressed to his ear. "Castellano's kicking her out," Terrence reported. "She's scrambling, no allies, no money, no safe places left." "Good," Dominic's voice was calm, controlled. "Where's she going?" "Airport, private terminal, chartered flight to Paris." Dominic's jaw tightened. "Ground the plane." "Already done." "And the route she's taking to get there?" Terrence paused. "Boss, you sure about this?" "What route, Terrence?" A sigh. "Same courier path she used for the ledgers, the one Elian ran for her." Dominic smiled. It wasn't warm. "Then we know exactly where she'll be." He hung up. Turned to the window. The city stretched out before him, gray, cold, unforgiving. Serena thought she could run. Thought she could hide. Thought she could humiliate him and walk away untouched. She was about to learn why no one crossed Dominic Ravello and lived to regret it. Upstairs, Elian stood by the window in his room, Noah playing with blocks on the floor behind him. He could feel it. Something shifting, moving. The air in the mansion had changed. Guards moved with more purpose. Phones rang constantly. Dominic's office door stayed closed for hours at a time. War wasn't loud. It was this, quiet, calculated, deadly. Elian pressed his hand against the glass, staring out at the city. Somewhere out there, Serena was running. And Dominic was hunting. Elian should have felt relief. But all he felt was dread. Because when men like Dominic went to war, innocent people got caught in the crossfire. And Elian knew deep in his bones that this wasn't over yet. When justice moves in silence, how do you know if you're on the right side or just the side that wins? Serena's car broke down on Route 17, 3 miles from the airport. Not mechanical failure. Sabotage. She sat behind the wheel, staring at the dashboard warning lights, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles went white. Her phone was dead, the charger didn't work, the car wouldn't start. And she was alone. She got out, looked around, empty highway, no cars, no witnesses. Just trees and silence. Then headlights appeared in the distance. A black SUV, moving slow, deliberate. Serena's heart hammered, she backed up, heels clicking against asphalt. The SUV stopped 10 feet away. The door opened. Dominic stepped out. No guards, no entourage, just him. Serena's breath came fast and shallow. "Dominic. Don't." His voice was quiet, final. He walked toward her, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Serena stumbled back. "I can explain, I can fix this, I'll give everything back." "You can't give back what you took." "The money." "Not the money." Dominic stopped 3 feet away. "You tried to destroy me, used an innocent Omega as bait, threatened a child." Serena's face went pale. "You didn't just betray me," Dominic continued, voice low and cold. "You tried to make me into the monster you needed me to be, and when that didn't work, you ran." He stepped closer. "But you forgot something." "What?" "I don't need to be a monster to end you." Serena opened her mouth to speak. Blue and red lights flashed in the distance. Police sirens. Serena's eyes widened. "What did you?" "Federal agents," Dominic said calmly. "Waiting for you, warrants for embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, enough evidence to put you away for 20 years. You can't." "I already did." The police cars pulled up, doors opened, officers stepped out. "Serena Ravello." She didn't move. "You're under arrest." They walked her to the car, cuffed her, read her rights. Serena looked back at Dominic one last time. He stood perfectly still, watching. No rage, no triumph. Just cold, quiet justice. The police car pulled away. Dominic stood alone on the highway, hands still in his pockets, staring after the taillights until they disappeared. Then he turned and walked back to the SUV. Terrence was waiting in the driver's seat. That's it. Dominic climbed in. That's it. No theatrics, no revenge speech. Revenge doesn't need a speech. Terrence started the engine, pulling back onto the highway. Dominic stared out the window, silent. Serena was gone, the threat was over, the city was his again. But when he closed his eyes, all he saw was Elian kneeling on the marble floor, signing desperately to people who couldn't understand. Justice was done. But the damage was already there. When the enemy falls, does the war end, or does it just leave different scars? Elian was packing when Dominic returned. Not frantically, not with panic, just carefully folding Noah's clothes, placing them in the courier bag, preparing to disappear the way he always did. Dominic stood in the doorway, watching. "You're leaving." Elian didn't look up, he nodded. "Where will you go?" Elian paused, pulled out a piece of paper and wrote, "Somewhere safe, somewhere far from here." Dominic stepped into the room. "You are safe here." Elian finally looked at him, his expression was tired, worn. He wrote again, slower this time. "You said I was under your protection, but protection isn't the same as freedom." Dominic's jaw tightened. Elian set the pen down. "Thank you for saving us, for stopping her, but I can't stay in a place where I'm only safe because someone powerful decided I should be." He picked up the bag, slinging it over his shoulder. Noah toddled over, clutching the stuffed rabbit. "Eli, we go now." Elian nodded, signing something Noah didn't fully understand but accepted anyway. He walked toward the door. Dominic didn't move. Then quietly Dominic said, "You were never a prisoner." Elian stopped. "You were protection I didn't know how to name." Elian turned, confused. Dominic stepped forward, slow and deliberate, until he was directly in front of Elian. And then he did something Elian never expected. He knelt. Not as a mafia boss, not as an alpha used to dominance and control. As a man who'd made a mistake and didn't know how else to fix it. Dominic's hands lifted, clumsy and uncertain. Then he signed. It was rough, slow, the grammar was wrong and the shapes were awkward. But Elian understood. "Stay." Dominic tried again, fingers fumbling. "Not because I own you." He paused, concentrating. "Because you are safe here." Elian's breath caught. Dominic lowered his hands, looking up at him. "I don't know sign language. I had someone teach me 3 phrases this morning. That's all I've got." Elian stared at him, eyes burning. Dominic's voice softened, "But if you stay, I'll learn the rest." Noah tugged on Dominic's pant leg, grinning. "You know Eli words now." Dominic glanced down at him. "I'm trying." Noah giggled, then wrapped his small arms around Dominic's leg. Dominic froze. Elian watched, heart pounding. For a long moment no one moved. Then Dominic's hand, slow, careful, rested on Noah's head. Just for a second. But it was enough. Elian set the bag down. He pulled out the pen one more time, writing on the back of his hand since there was no paper nearby. "I'll stay, but not because you told me to." He held it up for Dominic to see. Dominic read it, nodded. "Good." He stood, brushing off his knees. "Then let's figure out what staying looks like." Elian exhaled slowly, hands still shaking. For the first time in 3 years he wasn't running. And for the first time in longer than that, it didn't feel like surrender. When someone powerful kneels for you, do you walk away, or do you stay and see if they mean it? 3 weeks later the mansion felt different. Not softer, not safer. But lived in. Noah's toys were scattered across the south wing. Elian's courier bag hung by the door, no longer packed, just resting. Dominic had hired a sign language tutor who came 3 times a week, and though his signing was still terrible, he was learning. Slowly, stubbornly, like everything else he did. Elian stood in the kitchen one morning making breakfast while Noah colored at the table. The house staff had tried to do it for him, but Elian insisted, needed something normal, something his. Dominic walked in, tie already loosened, phone in hand. He glanced at Noah, signed something. "Good morning." Noah looked up delighted, morning. Dominic's mouth twitched, almost a smile. He poured himself coffee, leaning against the counter. Terrence says the city's talking. Elian raised an eyebrow. Dominic's expression darkened slightly. An Omega in the Ravello mansion, a child under my protection, people are noticing. Elian's hand stilled on the spatula. Dominic set his coffee down. Some of them think it's weakness, others think it's strategy. He looked at Elian directly. And a few think it's an invitation. Elian's chest tightened. He grabbed the notepad from the counter. What does that mean? Dominic read it, jaw tightening. It means other alphas are watching, seeing if you're claimed, seeing if I'll defend that claim. He paused. And if I don't, they'll try to take you. Elian's hands shook slightly as he wrote, I'm not a prize. I know. Then why does it matter what they think? Dominic's eyes went cold. Because in the Omgaverse a protected Omega becomes valuable, especially one tied to someone like me. He pushed off the counter, stepping closer. I'm not going to force you into anything, but you need to understand staying here means you're part of my world now, and my world has enemies. Elian stared at him. Dominic's voice softened slightly. I'll protect you, both of you, but it won't be quiet anymore. Noah looked up from his coloring. Eli, you okay? Elian knelt down, signing I'm okay, keep coloring. Noah went back to his picture, a lopsided house with 3 stick figures in front. Elian stood, looking back at Dominic. He wrote one more line. If they come for us, what happens? Dominic's expression didn't change. But his voice dropped to something quiet and absolute. They'll learn what it costs to cross me twice. He left the kitchen. Elian stood there, staring after him, heart pounding. Noah tugged on his sleeve. Eli, look, I drew us. Elian looked down at the picture. 3 stick figures, one tall with dark hair, one small with a big smile, and one in the middle holding both their hands. Elian's throat tightened. He picked up the picture, holding it carefully. This was home now. Not the mansion, not the protection, not even Dominic. This. The 3 of them together. But outside the gates the city was watching. And in the Omgaverse, attention was the most dangerous thing you could have. Elian set the picture on the fridge, hands still trembling. Somewhere out there, someone was already planning their next move. And this time, Elian wouldn't just be caught in the crossfire. He'd be the target. If you had to choose between safety in a dangerous world and freedom in an uncertain one, which would you pick? Drop your answer in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter of this story. Hit that like button if you're ready to see what happens when the city decides Elian is worth fighting for. Share your thoughts, inspire others, and let's see where this story takes us next.